Happy Harlan days and welcome to Deep Blue Sea, the podcast. I am Mark Die Ugly Hoffmeyer.
And I am Jay Mega Car Flip Dream Cluent. Welcome you to Deep Blue Sea, the podcast. As you said, it is Happy Harlan days. It is time for us to once again talk about a Renny Harlin film, a Christmas Renny Harlin film, the third and I think final Renny Harlin Christmas film. On this show, we normally talk about Deep Blue Sea, scene by scene. We also look at some Deep Blue Sea adjacent films. That's films featuring sharks, aquatic action, or today, Renny Harlin films. And this is Bodies at Rest. What is Bodies at Rest? Good question. It's a 2019 action thriller film from the period where Renny was working from China and Hong Kong. And
Three movies.
Yeah,
starting with Skip Trace.
Skip Trace we've done. Bodies at Rest we are now currently doing. And then I clicked away from the page that had the other one on. It's the Legend of the Sword or something. It's Legend of the Ancient Sword is the one in between Skip Trace and Bodies at Rest that we haven't got to yet. But we will someday once we've found it. Because like Bodies at Rest, not the easiest film to track down because I don't know about you, Mark, but this film never had a UK release.
Oh no, this wasn't released here in the States, and I had a hard time finding this. Like I almost had such a hard time finding it that I felt like the criminals in this movie hunting for the bullet that they wanted. But I found it because that's
a copy of the film.
Show.
There's a copy of the film in a corpse somewhere. We're gonna go looking for it.
Okay, so Jay, I was trying to explain this movie to Megan, my wife,
Okay.
who's a frequent guest on this show, and it spiraled out of control. Like this.
Yeah.
So like Long Kiss Goodnight, Super Spy gets her memory back, shenanigans happen. Genetically modified sharks eat people. Die Hard 2, it's a Die Hard sequel. John McClane in an airport. Like I feel like Renny Harlin movies are driving film with Stallone. Like they're very easy to kind of like pitch to people.
Yeah.
And
modified sharks escape, hunt people down.
Yeah, it's quite high concept. And this one feels high concept on the surface, but when I tried to like get the plot coming out of my mouth, it just made us both more confused. And it's not the most in-depth movie ever. It's practically a single location film, sans like a dream sequence and some other moments. Yeah, flashbacks. Sorry. And it just I love those flashbacks. But yeah, it's there's I guess you got to pack in a lot of stuff to make a single location film interesting, and Renny does that. I mean, the same glass shards pop up in about 18 scenes in this movie, which I love. But it's Jay, I want to hear you explain it and like condense this thing down because it's
the way I've condensed it down to people is it's Die Hard in a morgue, basically. Where you've got there's three people who work in the morgue. You've got the doctor Nick, played by Nick Cheung. You have his intern Lin, played by Yang Zi, and you have the security guard known as Uncle King, who is played by I can't find where he Shaoling Ma plays Uncle King. So they're working on Christmas Eve. They're staying late, as you do, working at the morgue on Christmas Eve, because as a character later in the film, people don't stop dying. You got to do those autopsies. So just the three of them late at night, and then three criminals are attacked. They are dressed as Santa, Rudolph, and an elf. They have these masks on, and they are after some evidence, a bullet, in a freshly delivered corpse that has not been autopsied yet. And it turns out that's evidence linking them to the murder of the daughter of a mob boss who was present at a drug deal that they were overseeing that went wrong. And it's kind of a convoluted mess as to how getting the bullet is going to help things out. But that's the main thing is you have the three good people and the three bad people, and then we'll kind of at odds with each other in this morgue on Christmas Eve.
He gives them the wrong bullet, and then the three criminals leave. And then they're like, wait, this is the wrong bullet. And then they go back.
It's a hollow point. None of us use hollow points.
Then they go back to the place to
get the right bullet.
And it's so much fun though. I saw on Letterboxd you gave this 3 out of 5, and I feel the same way. I mean, listen, like I love the sets that they built in Beijing. Like I love the camera work. It's very glossy. It's very stylish, and it's very, I would say, 1990s, early 2000s in its action actionness. Like
Yeah.
it's a good time. And also just, I really liked Lynn. I thought she's kind of like the action hero of this movie. It's, I don't know. And like learning about Nick Cheung and his back catalog of films and all the action movies he's been in. And it's, once again, since it's Renny Harlin, it's a very serviceable action film.
Yep.
I think that's the right word.
I think so. You kind of feel like, hey, this film's a bit like Die Hard. John McTiernan, he's busy. Renny Harlin did Die Hard 2. Let's get him involved. Let's go. So actually, he's done Die Hard 2. He did Die Hard 3 with 12 rounds. So he needs to complete the trilogy and do the first one, and that's what we're going to do here.
Oh, wow. And you know what? There's no John Cena running, so it gets points for that.
And like, this is, on Rotten Tomatoes, this is Rennie's highest tomatometer rating. It says 83%. I think there's only 6 reviews. That doesn't matter. Yeah.
But I mean, you listen, if you put this movie in context, right? Like, what am I watching? It's fine. Like, you can't just be like, this movie's crap. Like, this movie is fine. It's a good action film.
It's got a tight premise, a tight script. It all kind of clicks together. There are some silly decisions like there are in every action film. Like, the 3 good guys get locked in a freezer when he gives them the wrong bullet. They get out and don't run away. Yeah, just run away because they're like, oh, the phones are all dead. The internet's dead. Like, oh, we can still like check the internal internet. Just, God damn it, run away. Get out of there.
Step outside, call the police.
Flee. At least one of you has a vehicle with. And they don't, and so they come back, and one of them dies, and it's just.
And janitors always love loud music. How many janitors have there been just listening to loud music while something terrible happens? I want to know more about this box office, Jay, because it debuted on August 16th, 2019. And it made 17.8 million. So this was like the 68th highest grossing film in China in 2019. But then it dropped to 583,000. It had a 96.7% drop. And then the following week, it got down to 48,000, which was a 91.8% drop. I mean, this thing went like, I have never seen a 96 point. So it was in theaters for 1 week. And you know what? Like 17.8 is not a lot of movies nowadays wouldn't mind that. Like with action films wouldn't mind that. And then it was gone. Like it was like people went, nah. And then they just shut it out of theaters completely. It's crazy.
It really is. And I cannot explain it because you shared this with me earlier and it boggles the mind. There's no one in this. There's no one in the cast that I had heard of that I was familiar with. So I don't know if people were just like, there were some people who were like, I'm really looking forward to seeing this new Renny Harlin film. And they went and saw it. In the same way that, you and I are going to opening weekend, we're going to go and see The Bricklayer. As soon as we can see that, we're going to go see it.
Yeah.
How many other people are looking forward to seeing The Bricklayer? I don't know.
But here's the thing though, Nick Cheung, the lead, he's been around since the 80s, late 80s. And he's been in action films. He's been in films with Michelle Yeoh. Like this guy has been churning out at least 1 to 2 movies a year for decades. So he's a big name actor. And so I don't know, like, was it the dead bodies just laying? Because Renny Harlin, when he talks about it, he's like, yeah, I thought I was going to be in China, but then I'm not there because I went back to Finland and then I got stuck there. So then I made The Misfits and now I'm making 3 Strangers movies and a bunch of other things. But he never comments on what happened to this movie at the box office. So it's just an odd, I don't know. I wish I could have learned more about this movie, but there's really not much out there.
There's not a lot. This kind of feels like the Renny film that just doesn't exist.
Yeah.
It's made. We've seen it. Like, listeners, head to Daily Motion. It's on there. You can watch it too.
And it's fun.
It's worth watching. It is a fun time. But it's just no one has ever talked. I couldn't find a single podcast episode anyone has ever released on Bodies at Rest. Given how many movie podcasts exist in the world, like this one just hasn't been covered.
Well, there's no exploding helicopters.
True.
And it's not so bad that.
It's no like how did this get made? It's going to cover it.
Yeah.
It's not going to bother on Spooled anytime soon.
And it's just here. It exists, and it'll disappear from theaters. You can barely find it anywhere. Renny doesn't talk about it much.
No.
And remember when we did the Misfits episode? And so I found all his recent interviews talking about the Misfits, but he barely talks about this movie. All he said about this movie was that he's like, he said they made the film in Beijing, and he tried to add some humor in it, but like, so there's a part like, this is not a bank. He's like, I was told not to be sarcastic. That is not part of Chinese humor, but then the partners encouraged me to leave it in. People may get the joke eventually. And he's like, The Shining was the reference point for films of this genre. We built the interior of the morgue in a studio in Beijing. And he's like, we just wanted to, so this is the most interesting thing. He's like, Wanda Media went to Hollywood and talked to all the agencies seeking their unproduced script. So Wanda Media was like, hey, US, what scripts are you not making that they could produce in Chinese? So this is what he said. They bought the rights to several and hired a Chinese writer to translate them. When they approached me, they offered me a version of that translated back into English. I sought out the original English script, rewrote that, and we have worked from a version of that translated into Chinese. So that's what Renny Harlin said.
I read somewhere that some of his film students, I think, helped translate it. Who like they were Finnish but knew Chinese. So there's like 4 different languages involved in the writing of this. But that's on IMDb, so take that with a pinch of salt.
Yeah, IMDb's good, but then I always put that into Google and I see if there's a source.
Okay, I didn't do that. I should do that.
Well,
I read something and think, yeah, that
like
sounds right.
Tomatoes and all that, and like all their podcasts. Like I've learned when it comes from their mouths, that's the best. But there's very little that comes out of Renny Harlin's mouth. You can listen to the commentaries for Hercules, The Covenant. Like you listen to one of his commentaries, you're like, I love all of his movies. But like, yeah, this one you can't do that. But I don't know. Christmas doesn't matter at all in the movie.
It's just the masks, isn't it? It's just like, because like some people come in and say, you're working late Christmas Eve. It's like, yeah. It's like that's it. It maybe explains why there's so few of them. It's just the 4 workers in the morgue, the 3 we've mentioned, and the cleaner. But it could just be a Sunday, or whatever day they like. It doesn't need to be Christmas, but you said about the it's not Chinese humor. I feel like Renny did get a few licks in some places, like when there's like a real like ominous musical sting to a guy wearing a Santa mask.
Yeah, and when he takes off his mask. Oh, the music.
Why did they take their masks off?
Yeah.
They've said like 10 minutes earlier, we can't be showing our faces, we're going to kill you. And then at some point they just take their masks off for no reason.
And that lady, the assistant, she's like, why don't you take your mask off? Are you chicken? Like, that's going to get you killed if you see their face.
Right.
Stop taking off the masks of killers. But yeah, so he snuck in some jokes. I mean, a crane is used to kill a guy. Oh my
God, that was such a Renny Harlin death.
I've never seen that before.
It's great.
I mean, like, it's so audiences, like, pretend you're at I don't know, you're at a video game or any grocery store that has one of those claws that drops down and picks up a stuffed animal or whatever and then dumps it down.
Now imagine a human.
Yeah, one of these is used in the morgue to pick up bodies, but it drops around a guy's neck. Like, he clamps around the guy's neck perfectly and it lifts him up in the air and the guy dies.
Yeah.
But a car flips 43 times, Jay.
So many times. I was so disappointed when that was a dream sequence.
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic! Like he's got out, he's escaped in the little car chase, and it's gone terribly wrong. And my God, the car is still flipping. And hang on, it's still flipping. Wait a minute. And then it dream sequence.
It flips. I mean, that's like Renny. I don't.
It flips from such a small interaction with another car. It's like going around a roundabout, and then this other car is like braking and just lightly kind of taps it, and it makes this car flip up and spin like Casino Royale, like the car flipping that, but entirely vertically.
But he's not going 90 miles an hour.
No.
They're. I think if there's a Guinness World Record of speed versus flips, this one seals the deal.
Has to be.
Because I counted car flips 7 times.
Okay. Yeah.
And like 5 of those are in the air.
At least. Yeah. It's ridiculous. I love it so much.
That's
Ah,
you know what's interesting? I think some people watch reality television for comfort. Like some people watch Christmas movies, these Hallmark movies for comfort. Some people watch various things just for the patterns of them. I watch a Renny Harlin movie just to see something flipping.
yep. Just to see someone being thrown through a giant window. It's gonna
Yeah.
happen, and it happens here a bunch of times.
Oh my god. It's just such a crazy movie. Like the bullet, right? The trajectory of the bullet gets on the ground, and then he puts it in his mouth, and then it goes here, then it goes there, and but you know what though? For what it's once again, it's proof that Renny Harlin, you just put him wherever, put him in any country, he can make something fun, and he can
Yeah.
find it. And Jay, like, what's his most generic movie?
It's most generic. I feel like 12 rounds is quite generic. I don't hate 12 rounds. 12 rounds is fine. It's kind of,
Oh,
yeah,
don't even say kind of. Like
it's on the rails, literally, in a few scenes. There's a few, like, there's a tram sequence in it. I mean,
Covenant.
Covenant could be. I forgot about the Covenant. I still haven't seen Cleaner, but I don't think it's Cleaner.
Yeah, it's just this movie though, the way that he's able to, I feel like I've watched movies like this, like Trespass or Hostage, and I've just been bored by them. This one I'm never bored. I mean, there's these two cops come in, and I love them, and they have this amazing brawl with the three. I mean, it's like I've never seen these cops before, and they're cool cops, and then they battle the bad guys, and it's like a full on front kick, scramble, death punch. Like there's so much that goes into it, and I just put really good fight. It's a really good fight.
There's a few really good, like Lynn has the fight in the morgue, where she's battering the guy with the doors, so the freezer drawers, and like prior to the cop fight, just the whole scene with the cops I thought was excellent. So they come in there, and you're thinking, oh, these idiots, they've just fallen for this ruse. Like they've seen dripping blood, and the guy's like, well, it's a hospital. I just expect to see dripping blood on Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
These guys are just fallen for it, and they haven't fallen for it. They've sussed it immediately, and then you get the really tense scene of they don't know who's the good guys and who's the bad guys. I loved it. Like it's a real, like I went into this film expecting nothing because we've not heard of it at all.
I thought, couldn't find it.
Right. If this was a decent film, it would be available. Is what I thought. Like Renny Harlin's a known director. People know he made Deep Blue Sea and Die Hard 2 and a bunch of films people know. If a film he made was good, you'd have heard of it. You'd better rent it somewhere. It would be streaming somewhere. But going into this completely blind, I was thrilled.
That cop fight's badass, dude. That's a good fight. I love the cop fight because they're not bozos. They saw him step on the bullet. And they're tough too. Like they don't fall for it. And the fight's really long. It's about a 3-4 minute fight with multiple levels going on.
Yeah, you don't feel like, oh, this fight's still going on. No, it's great. This fight's still going on.
And just I think she's great too. The assistant. Like I think Lynn, she's a beast. And I love how they're like, oh, you went under, like you had police certification or training, so she knows how to fight. And she gets most of the action beats in this movie over Nick. And I don't know. I love, when she's fighting in the morgue, and then when she fights the guy, and then that final 2-on-1 fight against Santa. Like that's a good fight.
There's some great kicks in that fight as well. And then like when
kicks.
He's in an office that's just like these transparent cubicle walls, but it's made to look like a hall of mirrors. And so just glorious. A great idea. So like he's walking in, he sees reflection of her. It's just glass panels, but like the lighting, it's a hall of mirrors. It's a classic. It's a Bond trope. It's Man with a Golden Gun kind of thing. But
Nick becomes John Wick all of a sudden.
Fun. Yeah. Like he becomes Jigsaw at one point when he goes on the intercom and he's like, "Are you tired? The games have just begun."
Oh yeah.
he turns into like, and he leads them on a chase around because he's in different intercoms, different rooms. It's great. And all the stuff when
fight.
Yeah, and when Lynn is in the freezer and they think she's got the bullet, like Nick is outside and he has the bullet, and they're torturing him to make her come back out and bring the bullet. That's a great scene. Yeah. It's like a really, really like tense. You know it can't end well because like he's got the bullet's out there. It's not in there with her, and they're just gonna, if they find it on him, they're just gonna kill him all. Like, there's no good way. He's just gonna be tortured or death. It's a real like tense sequence, and I thought it was fantastic.
You know, it actually makes me happy that they get a bullet, they leave, they come back, they don't leave. It's all just silly, but then you get the awesome hallway fight. You get an exploding lab fight, which is hilarious. I love that the timer gets set to 5 minutes. When the timer got set to 5 minutes to explode, Jay, I just laughed. I just started laughing, so happy. I was so hard. I was so happy that it's like a 5-minute timer. And instead of just turning it off, they just run away from it, and he uses his diamond ring to cut a thing, and then they explode out the window. And also, like, Lynn uses a forklift to trap one of the guys.
Yes. I thought she was going to kill him. But she just traps him. I thought she was going to, like, okay, we've had Nick's killed a guy with a crane. Now Lynn's going to crush a guy with a forklift, but she just kind of traps him for a while. So,
you give Renny anything. Like, I've never seen stuff. Renny finds a way. He finds a way to make things interesting. But yeah, there's way too much plot here, I think, for this movie.
I think it's enough. I don't think it's too much. I think it's like twisty enough to keep you engaged.
Yeah, I guess the whole coming back thing loses me. Like, it's like they could have been at the door.
Yeah.
And then
I could have done with a little bit more character for Nick. Nick and Lynn, because like Nick's got a bit of a backstory where his wife was killed, but he still has the ring. And Lynn's character is like, she's an intern there, but she's leaving. She's gonna go work somewhere else. And they have like a little date kind of in the hospital because it's the two of them have a microwave pizza and M&Ms. And at the end of the film, she's like, I'm gonna stay. So why? This has been a really traumatic night. I don't get it, but fine. I just could have done with a little bit more of character. Like when we first introduced to Nick, he's fat shaming a corpse.
Yeah.
Which is like, I only see people on my table who like don't have good exercise regimen. It's like, no, everyone dies. What are you talking about?
There's a lot of fat shaming in this movie, Jay.
Yes, yeah, the guard, the security guard, Uncle King slows them down, but that's more because he's injured than he's overweight, I guess.
They keep calling him Fatso though.
Yeah, this Fatso's going to slow us down. And then, but he's so proud that he climbed over that gate.
Yeah,
he got to the top, and then he gets shot in the head. But he died proud at least. He had that last happy moment of pride and then bang. Yeah.
And I love too that he gets shot in the head, and then Nick's like, "We're fighting right now."
Yeah, let's do it.
Nick's not taking that, and he loses. But I like that he's not. He's like, I don't care if I die. I'm gonna punch you in the face. Like, that's a good bit. This movie is 1,000 times more entertaining than that Violent Night movie with David Harbour as Santa.
I have not seen that.
That movie bored me to tears, Jay. Even though there's a snowmobile chase, it's not good.
Oh dear.
Let Renny direct it.
Yes, agreed.
Give him a reunion with John Leguizamo. Boom. He's already handled snowmobile action.
I'll say, is that just Die Hard 2, or have they worked together somewhere else?
They need to.
That's not much of a reunion because he's not in it a lot.
I mean, kind of.
Die Hard 2 is not a John Leguizamo film.
He's
there.
Okay, now Nick, right? He swaps the bullet. Everyone could leave this thing alive, but he swaps out the bullet. He gives he gives I think Rudolph or the elf one of the wrong.
Rudolph, because the elf is the loose cannon. Rudolph he's like afraid of he's like squeamish. Mm-hmm. So when Nick's like describing everything he's doing to the body, he's like, I'm opening the chest cavity, there's the skin flaps, and he just goes in with his hands, makes squishy noises, and Rudolph goes and throws up. That's fun. So yeah, he gives Rudolph the wrong bullet.
Yeah, I don't know. Like so he gives him the wrong bullet. Everyone would have lived had he just given them the right bullet. But instead he gives them the wrong bullet, and then because of that, Uncle Jack dies, the two cops die, the janitor dies. Innocent people die.
Yeah. The guy from the other morgue, Kit, who shows up to collect the body. He dies? Or was that just in the dream sequence?
Yeah, that's just the dream sequence. He lives.
Okay, good.
I love that he's out to party with women, and he's like, "Hey man, come drink with me." He's like, "You're lost."
I didn't love that he's working, driving, very drunk, Like this film has the line, "You've had a few drinks. Drive safely."
Yep.
Like,
He goes, my passenger's dead already. Who
Yeah.
cares? Like, that's a good line. I like this guy's style. I don't like him on the road, but I like his style.
and he's just boogieing around with his hip flask. Yeah, he's having a great. I mean, it's Christmas Eve. Like, if you're working Christmas Eve, you're gonna try and have some fun. You don't know you're in the middle of a hostage situation. I get it. That was a fun performance.
I like that guy, and he lives. But what do you think? I mean, he took down corrupt detectives who led to like triad death, drug dealing death, but innocent people died because he didn't swap the bullet.
Yeah.
Is that? I mean, we wouldn't have a movie without it, but it's just an odd plot. He's like, you know what? I don't know why. I could get these people out of here alive, but I'm not going to do it. And then I'm going to hang out and let them come back.
So if we compare this to Die Hard, I guess the parallel for Nick is Takagi, who's like the guy who runs the Nakatomi. Because he has to sit down with Gruber and he has a chance to give him the codes. He says it's not going to work, but you reckon he probably have got the code and made it work. But he gets shot. If he had cooperated with Gruber at that point, I guess the only other good guy that dies. The cops die. The police have themselves an RV. They blow it up.
Yeah.
And you could, I mean, Ellis isn't a good guy, but he's not. He's not in league with the terrorists. So if Takagi had but no one goes into this thinking, Takagi is the main villain here. It's his fault all these people died. So yeah. I'm not going to blame Nick. He was just trying to do the right thing. Although this was definitely out of his pay grade. Like no one's asking him to swap the bullet out. He just decides these guys are bad. I'm going to stop them from doing this thing that might be bad. I don't know. He doesn't know. He makes a wild leap in logic at the end of the film when he just describes the entire flashback he has no knowledge of. I can tell what went wrong. This was a drug deal gone wrong. How? How did you get this? Where are these stepping stones that got you to this logic?
Yeah.
I missed like 3 scenes.
He explains it all of it. Like you don't get that from a report. Like you don't. Like, you did this then, and oh gosh. But I just think, I don't know. I think just at least get them out of there. Hey, Uncle Jack and Lynn, I swap bullets with them, so just leave. Just leave.
Have the opportunity. The guys have left with the wrong bullet. They're out of the freezer. Run away. Just go.
Yeah.
Get out of there.
I guess that's where that one gets tough. Like, I guess when you explain it I was trying to explain it that way, and I just kind of went, why do you do that? Like, it's not. Like, it would have been. I hate when I rewrite scripts because I'm not a filmmaker, and this movie's a lot of fun. But how about instead of leaving, they're just like, hey, let me look at that.
Yeah. Or they could even they don't get out of the freezer. They're put in the freezer, and it's harder. It's just as they're getting out. Like when he finds that hatch, is when the criminals come back. Not when they're outside going over the gate. It's just make it trickier to get out, I guess. But then you have the whole scene at the gate, I guess. Is that then? They had a chance to get out and they didn't take it. I guess he didn't think they'd come back. He's like, I've outfoxed these. It's hubris. It's Nick's hubris. I've bested these Christmas Eve criminals. Haha. Oh no, they're back. Damn.
Yeah.
Oh, my friend's dead. Oh
Sorry,
no, what have I done?
Yeah. It's he's the weakest part of this movie is the doctor, or like the pathologist. Like like whatever. He's fine, but it's not. Yeah, there's not much to him. It's just more about the action scenes.
He's no great action lead character. He's no John McClane. Which, we shouldn't be comparing everyone. I know that I've been
don't do that.
But you can't compare it with Die Hard because Die Hard's one of the best films ever made.
Yeah.
It's just, you shouldn't do it.
But I mean, even if we're talking about any hostage film, there's just not much to the guy. So
He's no Danny Fisher from 12 Rounds. There we go.
Oh man, listen, I just don't ever want to think about John Cena running ever again. So
God, no.
Man, I remember watching 12 Rounds and going like, I love John Cena. He's great. But He's just too wide
Yeah, it's
and
just too
big to run.
It's just too rectangular. It's not. You're an oblong. Stop moving. It's stationary. You're a pillar.
But I mean, yeah, he does explain the whole thing. Like, oh man. And then, but there's a morgue fight. There's a hallway fight. There's another morgue fight. There's an exploding a lab fight. There's this is a movie that I don't know. And I want to talk about like the sheen of it too. Like I think it looks good. The sets they built were very expensive. And the cinematography, I love the way the camera rolls. Like I love the way it moves. It's a very polished movie, which is nice. Like, like Anthony Punn, the director of photography, like his roving camera never feels totally exploitative. I feel like he finds ways to keep it interesting. And, the camera work isn't overly choppy. I mean, some of it is, but that's not the Renny Harlin way. Like Renny Harlin likes to have the camera out there, and it's just a very, in the words of Norbert Morvan, cromulent action film. And I wish I had more to say about it, but yeah, it's one of those movies that it's good for what it is.
Yeah, my notes have the sentence: Rudolph vomits when Santa goes rooting around barehanded in a corpse and finds a piece of a rib. Like that happens in this film.
And then they think they have a bullet, but it's a piece of the rib cage.
It's a piece of a rib.
I love the beginning of this movie though. They're like, it's almost Christmas, everyone's home, but it also have a massive rainstorm that's keeping everybody home, so do not go outside.
Record rainfall, the highest on record.
So,
which, in the Deep Sea comparisons, the one that comes up the most is there's a storm. The amount of films that set what's going on, they limit the location because there's a storm. Renny loves doing it. He goes back to it all the time, and it works. Yeah, it works. It's easy to do. We've all been in a storm. We all know we don't want to be in a storm. We want to go home and be inside. So it makes sense. People are going to stay inside Christmas Eve because of the storm. It works.
And also, to the beginning of the film, you set up the kitchen, you set up the lab, you set up the recording, the desk, the buttons that get pushed. Like, the movie does establish the layout of the place pretty well. I'm not saying it's Die Hard. Nothing's Die Hard. We got to stop comparing things to Die Hard.
It doesn't set up Jim the skeleton.
Yeah. No. Oh my gosh. Do you think he'll move him enough for an explosion? I was like, what?
Like flammable powder and magnesium. A skeleton called Jim, and it all rigs to be an explosion. It's great.
Jay, if you're a night janitor and you clean places that are mostly empty at night, would you listen to music that blocks out any sound from the world?
I would have one headphone on. I think I would. I listen to podcasts at work, but I have one headphone in. But this guy, hey, maybe he has wireless headphones. Maybe they've broken, so he's got to use his backup headphones. Which for me, my backup headphones are the ones I'm wearing right now, which I can't wear just one of because they're cans. You have to have both on. So his headphones are broken. He's getting some new ones for Christmas, but he's got to have these backup ones for Christmas Eve. Yeah, it's a little bit too loud. But it's Christmas Eve. Who's going to break into... It's a time for miracles. Who's going to break into a morgue on Christmas Eve? Or indeed ever? Like, I think it's justified.
I'm just a chicken. That's why I say it. It's not a critique of him. Like, braver people would wear headsets. And also he knows that people are working there through the night. He knows there's a security guard. So, you know what? If you know there's a security guard, listen away. But I'm a chicken, Jay. I would have one thing in. I don't think I could totally immerse myself because, who knows what monsters or creatures are lingering in an office building that has security and no one's in there.
Fair
but I've seen too many movies, so I'd be a chicken. He gets killed though. I feel bad for the guy.
He does.
He
kickstarts the chaos in that cop scene with when oh my god, you guys back us, and then just Wyatt the cleaner strolls in and everything goes to hell. Actually, I did pick up on, this is obviously translated into English, so all the character names have changed. So the character played by Nick Cheung is Nick Chan, not the character's name in the original languages. Which I don't know if you saw this, but the main two character actors, they don't speak the same language.
Yeah, they don't.
No, they speak different versions of Mandarin, Cantonese. So they recorded it in both. Each one did their own language, and then they were dubbed over the other one for different releases. Right. Look, this is an English translation. They reused names of characters. There are 2 characters called Wyatt and 2 characters called Kit in this film that has 12 characters. So one of the criminals is called Wyatt, and one of the criminals is called Kit. The janitor is Wyatt, and the guy from the Hong Kong morgue is Kit. There are so many names, and they reuse Wyatt. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, it's but Rennie said it though. I mean, this movie was translated in, you know how many scripts were kicking around with this movie? So the fact that it works makes me happy. Like, I think, I don't know. I think
and that's a change that's only in the subtitles. They Wyatt and Kit. So that's the very last person to see this film. You're like, Wyatt, Kit, I don't know. So this isn't a criticism on anybody but that one person, and I don't know who it is. We never will. So I'll find them.
Also, one more interesting thing that Rennie said about making films over in China is that, you know, there's been a lot of Chinese and American and other countries collaborations. But if you think about some of these movies, they'll take one of the biggest stars in China and relegate them to about 3 lines in the film. And I like what Rennie said. He's like, and it's so hard to try to satisfy both cultures and have a little bit of this and that. And he's like, and there's all these examples of American movies where they have a big Chinese actor who has like 3 lines of dialogue or vice versa. And both audiences are upset on both sides of the world. And they find it laughable that there's this big American movie, and here's my idol, this big Chinese actor, and he's literally saying 3 lines. He's like, it's embarrassing. It feels like someone's trying to trick me into seeing something just because of the name. I just thought that was interesting. He's like, the actor's not happy. I'm happy. Nobody's happy. So I think he really learned, like, I think this could be good for his filmmaking. He just starts, like, that's why Tom Cruise succeeds, I think. I think Tom Cruise realized the power of international cinema and, like,
Vin
casting.
Diesel.
Yeah, Vin Diesel.
Well. Yeah.
Preach. Jason Statham, right? You know, everyone talks so much smack about Vin Diesel, right? But when he makes Triple X3, he has such an international and diverse cast with main roles. I mean, he's the main star. No one's going to have the role over him. But he understands, like, there's a world out there, and you don't just give somebody 3 lines. Like, that makes me, I don't know, Vin's smart. Like, he understands international cinema like Tom Cruise does, like Jason Statham. I mean, the Meg is gigantic. So
I'm going to say Vin does it better than Cruise, because Cruise has a tendency to, like, how many white brunette women are in this film? We can't, more than one? No, sorry, no, we can't have that. This, like, we're bringing in a new one. We need to get the other one out the way. Like, we can't, he has a quota.
They do interchange them a lot, don't they?
A little bit, just a little bit.
I guess in terms of him understanding international cinema, when you look at the Mission Impossible movies or Top Gun Maverick, every mission's explained before they go on the mission. And then Top Gun Maverick, they explain the mission for the first half of the movie, then they go on the mission. So audiences all around the world are like, oh, okay, they're telling us the mission, now we can just watch the mission. And it's very, like, it's very explainy.
Yes.
But it's very accessible for people around the world to watch. That's just what I think.
Yeah,
but I think
it makes sense. And like most of his big action scenes in Mission Impossible films are very visual, often dialogue free. You know, think about in the most recent one, no spoilers, jumps off a cliff, parachutes. Like that was filmed with it. When they filmed that, they didn't know where it was going to land. They didn't know how it was going to be relevant to the plot. They just knew that, hey, we want to have Ethan Hunt ride a motorbike off a cliff, parachute. To where? Who knows? But it's a really visual thing. It looks great. Yeah. And they made it fit in with the plot somehow. It's the first thing they shot.
I could not work with. I love Cruise, man, but I heard stories on American Made when it was filmed in Georgia here with him and Doug Liman, who's also a maniac. They just make, like, at the day, they're like, you know what we should do? This. I'm like, okay, I guess entire company move to here. And it's stressful, man. I don't know. And it costs a lot of money.
Yeah.
Vin doesn't do that. Vin's like, yeah, just, you know, I'm going to have a foursome with these ladies in X3. And then I'm going to take my shirt off. And then I'm going to have an entire scene where I'm rollerblading down a hill to get people Wi-Fi to watch a soccer game. No. He's He's not rollerblading. He's skateboarding. Extreme skateboarding.
Right. Give me X-ray glasses where it's clear I'm checking out a woman in her underwear, but make it that she's into me. Yeah, let's do that. The one scene I remember from the first Triple X film.
Man, there's a couple scenes. I love Vin, but there's a couple scenes in the latest Triple X movie where like, Vin, get away. Stop it. Just stop.
Be fallible in a scene.
This isn't me being like, oh, I'm old, or, it's 2023, we're changing. This is like, no, Vin, get away. Stop. You're better than this. Am I?
That's a good point, actually.
Yeah. But sorry. But there's none of that in this movie. But it's, I don't know. I think, so when you look at Rennie's movies, he I guess he kind of went, he had a huge hit with Skip Trace. Skip Trace made a lot of money.
And is far worse than this film.
Yes. And I think it has good moments.
Right, it does, but Bodies at Rest much better in my opinion.
Yeah, because you could, it's just a tight movie. Like you could have, yeah, the amount of stuff that he juggles in this and keeps things fresh and keeps using things. And but listen, when I'm praising this movie, I'm not. I guess I'm just. They took a script from America, translated it 6 times. They just wanted to make a fun action film, and Rennie succeeds on that. And that's kind of. This is probably one of his most, you know what? I feel like this is one of his most assured films in years. Like Legend of Hercules, nah. I mean, he had 6 days to make Legend of Hercules.
Sure. Yes. we don't know how long it took to make Bodies at Rest, I guess.
Yeah.
It could have been an afternoon. I mean,
but it's like he didn't have to rely on all the green screen, and he had good the acting's good in this movie. I think I didn't know where it was going. The action scenes were fun. I know I keep saying the action scenes are fun, but
they are.
There's a story to each of them too, and it's just silly enough to be fun. So I like it. Like this is Rennie at his post 99 best.
Yeah. Like this is the era that kind of gets written off because it's a bunch of films no one's heard of, and it turns out they're worth looking into. Or at least this one is.
Yeah.
I now have really high hopes for Legend of the Ancient Sword, which, hey, we'll find out.
How many more Rennie films do we have to talk about, Jay?
So, chronologically, we have Cleaner, which I've just ordered a DVD of, so that'll be soon. 5 Days of War, which I have a copy of. Devil's Path, Legends of the Ancient Sword, and then Reunion 3 Singles Cruise, another film that I don't know if it exists or not. Just like it's apparently it does. It was made. It's the third in a Finnish trilogy, and then he's got four films coming out next year. He's got the Bricklayer and 3 of the Strangers films, and he's got The Refuge and Deep Water. Refuge completed, Deep Water filming. Back to Sharks. Can't wait for Rennie and Sharks to get back together again.
Class Reunion 3.
Yeah.
I mean, but you know what's kind of a bummer? Bodies at Rest is only 5.5 on IMDb. It's not a 5.5 movie, I don't think. I think it's like a.
It should be more than that, yeah.
Hey, are we going to talk about the Covert Affairs and White Collar and Burn Notice episodes he's done?
We absolutely can. These are all shows I have not seen. Like, I mean, Burn Notice is a show that I like. Yeah, I really like this show, and I never watched it. I love Bruce Campbell.
It's for lack of a better term, it's comfort food. Like it's just a comfort food movie, I would say.
Yeah,
a TV show.
That's how it always looked. But how many? There's 7 seasons.
No, but we only have to watch their episode. He did 3 episodes of Graceland, 1 episode of Covert Affairs, 1 episode of White Collar, and 4 episodes of Burn Notice. Are we doing this?
111 episodes in one movie for Burn Notice. Yeah.
How committed are you? 4 episodes of Burn Notice? We could do it.
Absolutely, yes. And I mean, he did a couple of music videos we should cover as well. we could just do an episode on the music videos to like roll into one.
He did the LL Cool J Deepest Bluest video. He was the director.
Yeah, we talked about that. We talked about that already.
Wild Force. Oh man, Wild Force. We got to talk about that. I like that.
And that he produced some films I want to cover as well. He did Rambling Rose, which I've not seen. Speechless, I don't know what that is. But Blast from the Past, watched it recently. We're going to cover that at some point. We're going to cover Blast from the Past. Because not only is that Renny Harlin produced, that's deep. That's underground. It's also great. It's a wonderful film.
Yeah, he produced Rambling Rose, which got Laura Dern an Oscar nomination. He dated Laura Dern for a while.
He did. Then he was Speechless with Gina Davis, Ernie Hudson.
The Foot Shooting Party.
He's executive producer for Mistrial, with Bill Pullman and Robert Loggia. It's a TV movie. Blast from the Past and The Resident, with Hilary Swank, Jeffrey Dean Morgan. Well, I mean, we have plans for this podcast in the future, and we're going to need some other films to talk about. So these will be content. We'll cover them.
I love it. And I just want to say before I forget, Jay, I just want to say thank you to everyone in Egypt, and thank you to everyone in Portugal.
Yeah.
Also, we're number 5 in Ghana right now, and in Guinea-Bissau, we're number 4. And let's see, we're 16 in Taiwan, 24 in Malaysia, 24 in Vietnam, 11 in Nigeria. So we were number 3 in New Zealand, number 4 in New Zealand.
Incredible.
And so thank you to everyone around the world who listens to us. There's so on Spreaker alone, there's 14,000 movie podcasts. So that's just Spreaker hosted. Yeah. So around the world, there's thousands of podcasts. So the fact that you listen to us is awesome, and I appreciate it, and it's fun.
Yes, it's 14,000, and 3 of those are yours.
That's right. 4 of them. I haven't done Final Fights in years.
Oh yeah, Final Fights.
But I still get listens on that, so it's kind of fun. People find it. So, but no, Jay, this okay. I don't know if you have other things to say about this movie, but before we do the deepest bluest, do you want to talk about our favorite action scenes?
Yes. Yeah. I made a little short list, but go for it.
All right. So of the 2010s,
2010s,
because it's 2019, I just figured the decade. There's some really good action scenes in this, so I'm gonna read my action scenes. I did 6. I don't care.
Okay.
So the 13 Assassins Final Fight, Takashi Miike movie, wonderful. Then I have The Night Comes for Us, Alma vs. Operator. It's just an incredible fight where a woman gets her finger sliced and then she rips her pinky off. It's amazing. Ugh. Then I'm gonna do The Raid, Mad Dog vs. Ito and Andy, which is a wonderful fight. Then I'm gonna do the Red Circle Club battle in John Wick, which is the best action scene in the franchise, and it has the best kill, as you all know. Read my Ringer article about ranking every John Wick kill. And then I'm going to put the Cenobites fight from Mandy.
Okay, sure.
Because have you seen that movie?
I have not. I really need to, but I haven't seen it. It was streaming for a while and then it just disappeared.
He makes a custom axe and he goes into the Cenobite house and he battles these drug crazed, powerful creatures that ride ATVs. And he rips this giant line of cocaine, and this guy's there's dead bodies in the house, filmed all weird, and there's this dude's watching porn, and then he gets into a fight with a guy outside of a flaming car with an axe, and it's just insane. And then the final one I have to say is the swimming pool fight in The Strangers Prey at Night. It's a really good action scene. So
looking forward to seeing that one. I made a list of 12, and you didn't say any of them. Because mine are all just
yeah, but they're awesome though. I bet.
I mean, they are 11, sorry, but they're all the really mainstream ones, the Inception hallway fight.
Oh, great!
Is just Inception's one of my favorite films, and there's no scene in it.
Jake, your fight scenes would wipe the floor with my. If we did,
this is the problem. Everyone knows all of mine. I'm just here hey, those things you love, me too. That's what I'm saying. When Crew climbs the Burj Khalifa in Ghost Protocol, my favorite Mission Impossible film.
Oh, it's so good.
The plane hijacking in Dark Knight Rises, but the good scene from that film. I think it's an excellent scene. He really did it. Kitchen fight, X-Men: Days of Future Past, Quicksilver. Is all the slow mo. I mean, they tried to recreate that in the next X-Men film. Apocalypse. Yeah, it's a pretty bad film. That film ends awfully. They're rebuilding. Spoiler for one of the worst films ever made.
Dark Phoenix or Apocalypse?
Apocalypse. It ends. Dark Phoenix doesn't exist. What are you talking about? Apocalypse ends with them rebuilding the X Mansion, where you got Magneto and Jean Grey using their powers to just rebuild this building. But you can't just put blocks of stone on top of each other and that be it. That's not how it works. That's not how building works. You need to cement it. You can't just assemble a tower of blocks and go, there we go, live in that. That's not. You need another mutant who has the ability to, do labor.
Weld. Concrete man.
Always bothers me. Get Sandman in.
Lumber guy.
Yes. The Raid 2, the prison fight in the mud. Fantastic sequence. Beautiful scene. Captain America Winter Soldier, a film I've only seen the once. It's the Marvel film I've seen the least amount of times. But the elevator scene, when Chris Evans fights Frank Grillo and a dozen other people in a very small space, is excellent, just close quarters choreography. A scene I've watched a bunch of times. That's like one of my favorite scenes in the MCU in a film that I think is just fine. The Fallout bathroom fight, Mission Impossible, the Kingsman church fight.
Oh yeah,
is just bonkers. And the single greatest 3 seconds of film is when Daniel Craig rips the chunk of a train off and then jumps on it and checks his cuffs.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, do I have that suit? Yes, I do. Can I do that? No. I mean, I have a similar suit. I don't afford that. I don't know Tom Ford. But I love just jumping on, checking your cuffs. Coolest thing in the world.
That's a great list. I love all these.
But everyone does. So just circle back around to everyone does.
Jay, I have to watch so many movies, and it's you don't have the time.
No, I don't.
Yeah, and so I get paid to watch movies. So we're in a different situation, different situation. I'm put in front of a lot of these things. So
I realized I'd never seen. I hadn't seen Mank. Was the only David Fincher film I hadn't seen. So last week I watched it in half-hour installments on lunch breaks for a week. Like that's the only time I can watch Mank, and that was a waste of a week's lunch breaks. Mank is fine.
There's a reason I went to Netflix.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because it was like a pandemic.
It's just like, they're like, okay, the theaters won't pay for this? Oh, like, no studios will pay for you to make a movie, David Fincher? Okay, you can.
I'm sorry, how much color is in this film? None. To the TV. Wait, it's the audio is like from the 1930s? Everything was redubbed, obviously? Intentionally? Okay, to TV you go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm not paying for this. You get one dub, David Fincher. No, you're not two dubbing it.
Yeah. How many times does Fantasy Free say nerds? 27? Okay, to the TV. So, do you want to know how Bodies at Rest is similar to Deep Blue Sea?
Yes.
Quite a lot of ways. Long list. Storm cutting off transport. Interacting with a dead body. Chromatic backstory. A meaningful necklace from a locker. So there was cooking. There was a skeleton crew. Skeleton. But the whole mortician being killed in his own freezer felt like a chef being killed in his own oven. There was like a parallel there, I think. The two of the criminals are doing this to ail a sick parent in the same way that Dr. Susan McAllister is trying to do all this research because of her sick parent. Tenuous. It's there somehow. They're trying to open a jammed door. Try to escape by going over a fence. This is humans instead of sharks. A surprise death. There are 3 main antagonists. It's not sharks. There's a room that's lit entirely red with a room lit entirely blue next to it. Just like Deep Blue Sea 2.
Yes.
And they break a big glass window by throwing a body through it. And explosive powder, and it ends with a big gas explosion. So I feel like a lot of that was Renny being like, hey, I want to blow things up. You have a script, great, I'm going to blow things up in it. Let's blow things up. And he did so in Renny Harlin's way. And as for how deep and how blue is this film, listeners, I've gone through the entire film and worked out roughly how deep all of the action takes place in every scene and how blue the screen is throughout, and I've got the average figures. So Mark, as you know, Deep Blue Sea is, of course, 14.5 meters deep, 31% blue. Do you think Bodies at Rest is deeper and or bluer than Deep Blue Sea?
No.
No, of course not. It's a steady question. It's entirely based on land. So that's always like a 1 meter up figure. But then they do go up to the second story for a little bit. Ends up being 1.2 meters up in the air, about 4 foot up in the air, and 11.8% blue. All the stuff in the freezer, in the lockers, is pretty blue. And like Nick's wearing a blue jumper or blue trousers. There's blue clothes throughout, but 11.84% blue. So this means it is only slightly higher than Legend of Hercules, the film we just covered. It's like 3 inches higher than that. So it's between Legend of Hercules and Tremors in terms of depth, and it is slightly bluer than Deep Rising, slightly less blue than Ghost Ship. So that's where it ranks on the deepness and the blueness. I just would love someday this podcast can be dug from some kind of archaeological archive. I'd be like, someone worked out how deep and blue Bodies at Rest was. That was a valuable use of their time.
It's incredible. I love all this.
I love it too, but it's also not. It's ridiculous.
Hey, you gotta sell the bit. Also, I want to give a shout out to Ming-Sing Wong, the stunt coordinator on this movie. This guy he was the action choreographer on Super Cop. He was the action choreographer on Super Cop 2. He worked on Legend of Drunken Master, Rumble in the Bronx. He was on he was the stunt coordinator on Rush Hour. The Accidental Spy, a lot of Jackie Chan. He's one of Jackie Chan's team. He was a stunt guy on Forbidden Kingdom. And so he was the stunt coordinator on this movie. So the guy's been around since the 80s. Member of Jackie Chan's team. Great stunts. This is a good. You have a really good cinematographer. You have an expert director. You have a guy who's been in action movies since the 90s. You have a wonderful stunt team, and that's what you get with this movie. It's fun. It's good. I keep saying good. That's not much of a thing, but the problem with this movie is it's just fun. Like there's nothing blew my mind, and I don't think that was what it was trying to do. But it's just a thoroughly enjoyable movie that's way better than I would say a Trespass or a Hostage or a Violent Night. When it comes to siege movies in single locations, it's probably one of my favorite.
Yeah, as I've said, much better than I was expecting it to be. So if you're a little interested, head to Dailymotion. It's on there. It's subtitles. You can watch it. It's a good time.
It's a really good time.
But that'll do it for Bodies at Rest. A film I wasn't sure we'd ever cover. And we did. I'm so thrilled we did. So Mark,
Harlin
do you have
days.
Yes, happy Harlin days, everyone. Do you have anything to plug, Mark?
Just movies on the flicks. And then I did a best movie sniper video on Fandom. So if you go to Fandom Entertainment, you can see who the best movie sniper is. I did shooter versus sniper versus American sniper versus enemy at the gates for Fandom. So that was fun. It's a 5-minute video.
Okay. Excellent.
Yeah.
I forgot Shooter existed.
Bobby Lee Swagger is such an idiot. Hey.
That's the name. Hey,
Sniper. Name. We need you to show us how you would kill the president so we can prevent the president from being killed. Yeah, okay, I'll do that.
Hey, you tried to kill the president. Well, I didn't see this coming.
And then he just murders everybody. He murders 52 people in the movie.
Oh, and his name is Bobby Lee Swagger.
There's a scene where Elias Koteas is like, "Take your shot, Bobby Lee Swagger," and he shoots his fingers off from 100 yards away on top of a windy mountain, and then he kills 3 snipers.
He's just that good. Bobby Lee Swagger. And listeners, you can find Life vs. Film is my site. We're coming towards the end of the year, so maybe I'll have my end of the year posts. Who knows? Or the start of the year posts. We'll see. Something will be on there at some point.
Really great job raking movies, right? And he put together this thorough list, and it's lovely. And then people are like, "Your number 6 sucks. You should swap it with your number 17."
3 of your films didn't come out in the US in this year. They came out last year. It's like, yeah, I'm in frickin' England.
I just love that hundreds of movies come out a year, and they're like, our top 10 isn't the same.
The Fabelmans is 2023 for me. Deal with it.
Lists I have to release lists, right? A lot of people are like, we have to write articles in list form because that's what people read nowadays. But it's like, your number 1 is wrong. It's like, no, man, this is objective. Like, it's always a man too. It's always some dude that's like, "Hey, man, I disagree with you. You know the thing you like? It sucks."
Thanks for your opinion. We appreciate it. So lifeversusfilm.com is where you can come and critique my lists. Please do.
Yes, find his list and tell him it sucks.
By all means, I'm desperate for comments and any kind of social interaction. So find out there. And next week, we're sticking with films that I'm going into with very low expectations. House Shark is next week's film for 2017. I've only seen the cover, and it's a house being eaten by a shark. So we'll see how House Shark goes next week with a guest who specifically wants to talk about House Shark. Fine. Great. And then the week after that, Mark, we're going to be doing our Deep Blue Scenes of 2023.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that show. That's going to be a fun time. But as for this week, as for Bodies at Rest, thank you all for listening. I've been Jay Cluett.
And the director of House Shark is Ron Bonk.
Sure. We'll Deep Blue see you next week.